Ruby.
Doggy. Touch. Sit, sit, sit. Yes. Touch. Touch. Sit, sit, sit. Yes. Yes. Excellent. Good boy. Good job, buddy. Not too much. All right. X, 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 X. X, 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 yes. X, 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 yes.
Nice.
X, 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 yes. X, 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 yes.
So what did she do to control for stand versus sit?
X, 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 yes.
She's doing something that's making him stand instead of sit now.
Keeping him in motion?
No.
X, 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 X,
Putting the
X, X,
food lower than his head.
yes. So what I'll show you what to do, what not to do, right? So X, 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 X. This would be more getting to a sit. This would be getting more to a stand. Right? So essentially where that spine is in line, up, is making him gonna wanna sit down. This motion here. This motion here.
It's hard to get him out
There
of
you
the
go.
sit.
This motion here would keep him more in a stand because his spine is there's no pressure pushing down into the spine.
So head going up puts pressure downward through the spine. Head going down relieves pressure through the spine.
Yes. Great. Good boy.
So how many months have you been doing this with him now?
A whole 2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Yes. Good boy. Yes.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying about the intermediate bridge. Now you can give feedback for standing versus sitting.
Yes.
Beautiful.
Good boy. Yes. Good boy.
Sweet. You think you can teach another dog?
Yes. Absolutely.
All right.
All right. And Brooklyn is her name? Mm-hmm. Brooklyn. X, 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 X. Yes. Good job. Touch. X, 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 X. X, 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 yes. Excellent. Touch. X, 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 X. Yes. Good job. Very nice. Good girl. Look at you, darling. There we go. Good. So I'm just getting her comfortable being able to spin in a circle, making sure that she's just as comfortable with it. Ooh, good girl. X, 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 yes. Great. Good girl. Good job. X, 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 X. Yes, good girl. Good girl.
Now, one of the things you could do if you had another person working with you,
Yes.
we had talked about the idea of putting the target behind her. You could hold it or the other person could hold it, but
Yes.
the other person could do the terminal bridge
Sure.
because unless you're holding it in your hand kind of
Right.
loosely to where you can feel the touch, you won't know.
Yes.
Very good.
Get off my hand. There we go. They were sticky. Ready? X, 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 yes. Great. So I don't want that pawing. That's something that I'll work out next time if she tries to do it.
Yeah.
Brooklyn, touch. X, 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 yes. Good girl. Very nice. X, 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 yes.
Good.
Good girl.
So you're interrupting the intermediate bridge for the pawn.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Ready? X, 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 Yes.
Nice.
Good girl. Hang on, Judy. X, 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 X. Or timing free.
She was waiting for that.
That's a classic example where you thought about saying yes when
Right,
she was
she was
correct,
already-
and during your processing time to actually get the yes out, she changed
She's
and
like,
went to
I
the
got
left.
it, we're good.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then she was really clamped on. She's like, yeah, this is really working.
There we go. That was a beautiful one.
How about the speed?
Oh, the speed, right. So essentially when you're starting to fade off the lure, we have to make the dog become less dependent on the food in our hand, less dependent on being directly in the hand. And so when you start adding a little bit of speed, once you feel the dog has kind of got the motion going pretty well, one of the easiest things to do is just go a little bit faster. Yes. And we're able to get the dog going in that pattern, and my hand doesn't have to be directly connected to the dog's face via the lure. All right. X, 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 X. Yes.
So in TBT, how would we do that without worrying about fading the lure?
So using the intermediate bridge,
With a target.
right, with the target.
Because in a target, so you'd use your hand
Yeah.
as a target, and
So
with
you're
the
saying target the butt back here?
no, targeting the face to the hand.
Okay.
But in targeting,
gotcha. Right.
the animal knows from the beginning that the reward is not actually there,
Right.
so you don't have to trick them out of it.
Yep.
They just know the food's not there to begin with. That's why we need the intermediate and the terminal bridge.
Yep.
And we could use something that the dog knows only as a target. Like, we could use some device that the animal's going to touch that they know there's never food there. Or we could use your hand, just as you're doing. But if we did this with targeting from the beginning, the fading part is super simple, especially if we use that second target behind us, because that really makes it clear to the dog what the purpose of this whole thing is. So remember the Heidi videos where initially she's really stuck on using the leash?
Yep.
And then at one point she goes, oh, the hell with that, and she just pushes the skateboard to the target I have for her. So at that point she's learned what the purpose of the thing is, and she can get to it really any way she wants.
Yes.
Doesn't matter. So especially when you're trick training in general, if you teach targeting really well first and then you use targets instead of lures, and targets are a form of lure,
Sure.
but in using the target, the animal knows from the beginning that the food is not there. So they never go through or don't have the potential of going through the confusion stage of, hey, now there's not food there.
But you're not actually speeding up the process until they're really good with the motion, right?
Right, so I want the dog comfortable going in and doing this motion. If they're still struggling where they can't get their butt in the right position, even with the lure, then it's way too soon to even try to attempt to wean away from.
So you're saying you want this circle though before you want
Right,
the
you
butt
want
to end up
create
in?
this motion, and that the dog is
Yeah.
pretty well hitting directly between the legs where you want them to be. Free.
Yeah.
Good girl.
So if the
Yes.
dog was strong in targeting, you could do that probably just as well with
Just as-
targeting
yeah,
from the
absolutely
beginning.
right. So see if she's.
There you
with
go,
the-
good.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, that's good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so you can see, if I'm not even kind of paying attention to her, she's still struggling with where to put that butt for her because she's still following where that hand is going versus knowing, hey, this is the position, yes, that is gonna get me the thing, right? So we wanna make sure that that's strong enough where she understands that this is kind of the right area that I wanna be. If she's still kind of going out either side, she still needs a little bit more help, so.
Good.
Good. X, 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 yes.
Good. Now, I would have terminally bridged when her back leg hit the inside of your thigh.
Okay.
So similar idea is what you're saying, that you want to do one level before you do another.
Yep.
That would have made it really clear to her that there was something behind her
Right.
that she had to focus on and that she was trying to get to.
Yeah, and you can create targets of your legs. So saying like as you bring the dog around, that shoulder, yes, that
Nice.
shoulder coming in and touching there is where I specifically want you. Or your head. One of my personal dogs knows that right your head into my crotch essentially is right where I want you to be. That's your final position. That's where that terminal bridge is going to come from. Is when you bop that head right up against there. It creates a really strong look up as well. So you can create targeting via your body parts and the dog's body parts as well.
So if you would terminally bridge for her hip, initially her thigh,
Right. Yes.
then what you would do at some point when she hits there, you just keep intermediate bridging until she tries something else,
Sure.
which is probably going to be pushing back further because she's thinking about back. And of course you could be helping her with what you're doing with the target in front. And then you get to where you only terminally bridge when you feel the shoulder. But by telling her in the beginning that her butt hitting something back there was important, it would start to get that idea into her head early in the
That's-
process.
Right.
That, oh, this is really about where my butt is.
Sure.
So,
So if you have a dog that's really difficult to do any of the process, you're gonna do a lot more
6, yes.
TVs and marking the significant events as you go through it, right?
Brittany's done a lot more of doing this way, so I don't know what her experience is.
I missed the question.
But, go ahead, repeat the question.
If you have a dog that really struggles with doing the circle and coming back, would you, when you're doing like say CR, you're marking significant events, so the dog knows they're going in the right direction.
You can. So essentially, you're saying, would we do more successive approximations?
Mhm.
What I personally would do is not worry about trying to spin the dog in between my legs. I would just get the dog comfortable going in this motion here, and so getting their body used to making a full turn. And I did that with her in the beginning. I did a couple circles, making sure she was fluid going that way. If I had to break it down more, so on top of that, I'd be working, is the dog comfortable being lured backwards? Because obviously as we bring the dog around, I have to be able to push the dog back, yes, right? And so I would break those pieces up into separate things and making sure that the dog can the dog spin comfortably, right? Can I get a pretty reliable, yeah, there you go, good girl. Spin on the dog. Can I get the dog being comfortable being pushed backwards? And then that's going to make things a lot easier as well. So a lot of times people just want to start where, can I get my dog to do this? And the dog is like, oh, I'm all over the place, right?
The dog gets really stuck, people get really frustrated, training gets really shitty.
And so that's why with her, I did those circles in the first place, just to see if she's comfortable going around like this. And she was, right?
Yeah.
She's super food motivated, eager to lure. She's not really uncomfortable with my body presence being directly over her, because those are all pieces that you have to make sure that the dog is comfortable with.
Right.
So the other thing I would think about is dogs that might be uncomfortable with the placement of the contact, and we'd work through that by naming a body part separately. So teaching the dog to be comfortable, because you might have a dog that's really good. I can spin, I can chase food, or I'm
Yep.
really freaked out by being under you or
Yep.
bumping into you or whatever. So
Yeah. And usually when you teach a spin, and I do it intentionally. What am I doing right now? I'm purposely leaning over her to see kind of her reactions. And if she's uncomfortable with that, guess what? It's going to make me teaching spin a lot more challenging, right? Because then I got to try to do it where my body's not directly
Orangutan
over
arms.
her, right? And that's something that we're gonna have to work through, because if she can't handle this, there's no way she's going to be able to handle literally being underneath me. So.
very cool.